In a world ravaged by disaster, a small group of survivors banded together to navigate the harsh, unforgiving landscape. They had each lost everything and everyone they had ever loved, but they had one another, and that was enough. The group was made up of 5 individuals: Michael, the leader; Lily, the medic; Jake, the engineer; Taylor, the scout; and Grace, the farmer. They had all come from different walks of life, but they had found each other in the chaos of the apocalypse and had formed a family. They traveled on foot, moving from place to place in search of resources and shelter. They scavenged for food, water, and any supplies they could find, always on the lookout for other survivors. But they were careful to avoid the bandits and raiders that roamed the land, preying on the weak and vulnerable. Their days were filled with hard work and danger, but they were determined to survive. Michael led the group with a steady hand and a fierce determination, always making sure they had a plan and a place to go. Lily kept them alive with her medical knowledge and her kind, gentle spirit. Jake kept their vehicles and weapons running, his quick mind and steady hands proving to be invaluable. Taylor was the eyes and ears of the group, always keeping a lookout for danger and a way out. Grace provided them with food, her knowledge of farming and hunting keeping them alive. They had seen things that no one should ever have to see: cities reduced to rubble, families torn apart, and death and destruction on an unimaginable scale. But they had also seen acts of kindness and compassion that gave them hope that there was still some good in the world. One day, they stumbled upon a group of survivors who were in dire need of help. They were being attacked by a group of raiders, and the group had no choice but to intervene. They fought bravely, protecting the innocent and driving the raiders away. The survivors they had saved were eternally grateful, and they joined forces with the group, becoming a part of their family. The new additions brought new skills and a new sense of purpose to the group, and they were stronger and more determined than ever before. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but they were in this together, and they would not give up. They continued to travel, helping other survivors whenever they could, fighting for a better future and a chance at life. They were not alone in their struggle. As they met more survivors and joined forces, the group got larger and more powerful. Together, they built communities and forts for protection, establishing trade routes and agreements with other groups. They had created a new society and a new way of life, one that was built on the ashes of the old world. The group had become more than just a group of survivors. They had become a symbol of hope, and their story had spread far and wide. People looked to them as an example of what could be achieved in the face of adversity, and they were proud of what they had accomplished. They had lost everything, but they had found each other, and together they had created a new world, one that they could be proud of. They had survived, and they would continue to survive, as long as they had each other. The apocalypse had taken everything from them, but it had given them something even more valuable: a family and a purpose. They were not just surviving, they were living, and that was enough. The old, dilapidated house on the outskirts of town had long been known as the haunted house. Some say it was haunted by the ghost of a woman who had died there many years ago, while others believe it was the spirits of the previous owners who had met a tragic end. Regardless of who or what was said to be haunting the house, one thing was certain: it was a place to be avoided at all costs. The house had been vacant for many years, its windows boarded up and its yard overgrown with weeds. It was the kind of place that children would dare each other to sneak into on Halloween, but even the bravest among them would never stay for long. But that all changed when a young couple, Emily and Jack, decided to buy the house and renovate it. They had always been fascinated by the paranormal and had always dreamed of owning a haunted house. They knew that the house had a reputation, but they didn't believe in ghosts and figured that it would be a fun project to work on together. As soon as they moved in, strange things began to happen. Objects would move on their own, doors would slam shut, and they would hear strange noises in the night. Emily and Jack dismissed it all as the house settling and the old plumbing, but they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As they began to renovate the house, they stumbled upon something that they never could have imagined: the ghost of a woman. She appeared to them as a misty figure, her eyes full of sorrow and longing. She told them her name was Mary, and that she had been murdered in the house many years ago by her husband. She had been unable to move on, trapped in the house, reliving the horror of her death over and over again. Emily and Jack were stunned, but they were determined to help Mary find peace. They did research on the history of the house and found that a woman named Mary had indeed been killed there by her husband. They dug deeper, found out the husband was caught, tried, and hanged for the crime. They began to communicate with Mary, trying to understand her story and help her move on. They would leave offerings of flowers and candles in the room where she had died, and they would speak to her, offering their condolences and support. As they got to know her better, Mary began to reveal more about her life and her death. She told them about the abuse she had suffered at the hands of her husband, and the night that he had killed her. Emily and Jack listened to her with tears in their eyes, feeling her pain and her sorrow. With each day that passed, Mary's presence in the house grew stronger. She would appear to them more frequently, and her presence was no longer limited to the room where she had died. She would move about the house, opening and closing doors, and her ghostly laughter could be heard echoing through the halls. Emily and Jack knew that they had to do something to help Mary find peace. They reached out to a psychic, who told them that they needed to hold a seance in the house. The psychic warned them that it would be dangerous, but they were willing to do whatever it takes to help Mary. The seance was held on a stormy night, and as the candles were lit, Mary's presence could be felt more strongly than ever before. The psychic began to speak in a strange language, and the room grew cold. Suddenly, a window shattered, and a gust of wind blew out the candles. In the darkness, they could see Mary standing before them, a look of peace on her face.